Welcome back, or welcome in. Either way, I'm glad you're here. I was planting the garden this week, and, well, let me back up. Planting in the garden sounds nice, doesn't it? I was getting ready to plant in the garden. The getting ready part wasn't that nice. It involved a whole lot of dirt moving and fence building. The goats were all too eager to offer their assistance with the garden, see, so we had to build a fence around the raised beds down here where the goats can get them. Building the fence was a task and a half in itself, trying to navigate a hillside in such a way that the wire would stretch correctly and the posts would hold firm. Then there was a last minute change of plans when the first wire we got was too strong for the fence posts. It would have required active stretching, and the ground isn't hard enough to hold the poles for that. So we had to go get different fencing. Then we had to hang that fencing, which was a lot of walking and unrolling along a hillside, which I'm not even going to try to explain, and wrestling with the big rolls. Then we had to cut 2x4s to be supports in weaker sections, both at the top and at the bottom. Good thing, too, because our buck loves to rub his way along the fence, and he's already bowed the wire in noticeably. Besides the fence, there's the hauling of dirt. We got a bunch of topsoil delivered and dumped in a pile near the beds. That's all well and good, but then I had to take a plastic tote and fill it with dirt from the pile and walk it to the beds and dump it and then bring it back and then do it all over again. Over and over and over again. Because the beds are very space conscious, but not very walkway conscious. Then there was the matter of reclaiming part of the hillside within the fence so more things could be planted. That involved a lot of pick work and earth moving as well. Of course, it's summer now, which is lovely, but it also means that the sun is out in force, and it's hot. And I was out there doing heavy manual labor in the hot sun, thinking about goats and vegetables and yaks, and I started thinking about the cost of all of this stuff. Growing your own food isn't cheap. Well, the setup to grow your own food isn't cheap, at least not here. Maybe in some places where the climate is nice and the materials are readily available, but here it's a lot of work and a lot of money to start. The soil is poor and requires amendments. That's not a problem if you have a good compost pile of manure, but manure comes from animals, and you have to feed those animals something. That's not a problem if you have a lot of garden scraps and lush hay fields, but for that, you need good dirt. You also need a way to keep your animals out of your crops, and you have to water both the animals and the crops. I was thinking about all the materials that we were using, that we had to buy. The posts, the fencing, the dirt, the alfalfa pellets for the goats, the wood and sheeting for the barn, the hoses and tubing for watering. All of these things that add up. Thought to myself, I'm sure lucky that I live on a farm that has money for these things and I don't have to pay for it myself. And then I thought about how much time I was spending working on all of this, all the effort that I was putting in, and I thought, I suppose I am paying for it. I'm basically working at a job and making an hourly income that I'm then spending on these things. So basically, I'm just breaking even. And I smiled and thought, heck, I'm a simple guy. I'm happy just to break even. But I'm not really breaking even, am I? That's how we look at things, isn't it? Whether or not we're breaking even. We're either losing or we're gaining, or we're breaking even. I'm not making money, but I'm also not losing money, so I guess I'm breaking even. But it's not really about money, is it? No, it's about so much more than money. It's about being outside on a bright spring day. It's about feeling the wind and watching the clouds and hearing the leaves on the trees. It's about Timber digging in the dirt, even when he's not supposed to, and the goats rubbing on the fence and the damn voles eating our cucumber sprouts. It's about working with my hands, building something tangible and real and rewarding. It's about making ice cream out of fresh goat's milk and blueberry jam that I made myself. It's about snapping off a sugar pea with dirty hands and munching as I pull weeds. It's about broken hoses and driving rain and leaky hydraulic lines. It's about sweat and cussing and sore muscles at night. It's not about money. If it were about money, I'd go to the grocery store after work. Work at a dull office job that paid well. I'd use my fancy college degree and get a real job and earn a salary and pay someone else to do all this frustrating, beautiful, backbreaking, heartbreaking work for me. I'd live in a tiny apartment in a big city and work a boring job to pay for my tiny apartment that I live in to be close to my job that I need to pay for my tiny apartment. And I'd save up a little money every month so someday I could retire into a tiny apartment in an old folks' home where I could sit and watch the news until I died. Sorry, maybe that's a little bit harsh. But my point is, it's cheaper to buy food at the store. It's cheaper to go buy an onion than it is to buy topsoil and fertilizer and hay and hoses to plant an onion and wait 3 months and go pick an onion. That's just the fact. It's cheaper to buy milk from the store. It's easier too, a lot easier, but it's not about the money. So I'm not really breaking even. I'm living my dream. I'm living life. I'm experiencing so much more than a grocery store aisle. I'm tired every single day. I wake up at 5 a.m., and if I'm lucky, I get to bed between 9 and 10. It takes real planning for me to sit down to talk to you like this because there is just so much to do. Constantly, always, something needs to be done. It's exhausting, and it's frustrating, and it's sweaty and sore and dirty, and I am not breaking even. I'm spending way more time and energy on all of this than I ever would at a job. If I worked this hard for a company, I would, at least in theory, be making way more money than all of this is theoretically saving me. I'd be able to sit down at the end of the day and watch some TV, cook myself some dinner, relax a little. I'd be able to sleep in on a Saturday morning, take a day trip and go for a hike on the weekend, maybe even go to a movie once in a while. I'd have groceries all at once, whenever I wanted them, right from the store, and have plenty of money left over for fun and games in all that lovely free time I'd have. But it's not about money. It's about watching the clouds and wondering how much time I have before the rain falls. It's about feeling the wind and bracing corn against the gusts. It's about hunching over a calculator, planning how many Brussels sprouts I can fit into a bed and where the beach should go in between them. It's about throwing weeds over the fence and watching timber leap to snap them out of the air. It's about sunburns and mosquitoes and one berry for me, one berry for the bucket. It's not about money. We, as modern Americans, and I think as a majority of modern people, get so caught up in number go up. We want to see number go up. It doesn't really matter what number, we want to see it go up, or sometimes down if it's on a scale. But we want more, more of this, more of that, and we measure it in numbers. We have this idea that numbers are empirical, that numbers are fact and show us an objective truth. Numbers are real, where feelings and impressions are biased and unreliable. We measure almost compulsively. We measure how much money we make, how many friends we have, how old we are, how fast our cars go, how many square feet our houses are. And then we compare. The money coming in is more than the money going out. So I'm winning. I've lived an above average number of years. So I'm winning. My house has so many square feet. So I'm winning. We don't talk about the things that don't have numbers because it's not empirical. It's not scientific. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in science. I'm not out here saying pasteurization is bad and vaccines are the devil's work. I'm just saying that not everything that is real and valuable has or has to have a number. We don't ask if all of your house's 2,000 square feet are filled with family photos and travel mementos and personal masterpieces. We don't ask if those impressively many decades were spent seeing the world or surrounded by loved ones or pursuing passions. We don't ask if all that money coming in is really worth those intangible things going out. I'll be the first to say that planting a garden and milking goats is not everybody's dream. I know that. If your dream is to work in a dry, comfortable office with a steady routine and the same faces every day, then go out and live that dream. Don't let anyone tell you it's not enough. Likewise, if your happy is living out of a van held together by duct tape and hope, you go out and get it. There's nothing wrong with canned soup on the side of the road, and I should know. My point is that we should all take a look at our lives and ask ourselves if we're really breaking even, not on money, but on happiness, on joy, on fulfillment. Money is important, sure. Our modern world runs on it. It's pretty hard to put frogs in your gas tank. But money is not the only thing that is important. Usually, not even the thing that's most important. Just because you can't put a number on love, on contentment, on well being, doesn't mean these things are not important, are not valuable, are not worth pursuing or growing. We need to broaden our concept of breaking even to include all of our values, not just the monetary value. Of course, that requires us to know our values, and that is oftentimes a harder journey than we want to take. But that is a discussion for another time. For now, I will say thank you for joining me and for giving me a reason to sit down and take a break from the garden. I hope you will come back and join me again next week. But until then, I wish you starry eyes and a clear heart. Be well, my friends.